Hi, welcome to Junior Achievements Interviewing for a Job. This session covers communication styles used during the process of job hunting with an emphasis on interviewing. You will learn about key interpersonal skills necessary to get started in the workplace, from introducing themselves to coworkers, acting and speaking in a professional way, and listening actively. Before we get started, you will need your brag sheet, which is a handout for the brag sheet activity, the interviewing etiquette handout, the why are you the right person handout. So, how to get a job. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American holds 10 different jobs before they're 40, and that number is expected to increase. When you consider that you aren't going to get every job that you apply for, you start to realize that you'll be filling out a lot of applications, writing a lot of cover letters, and going on a lot of interviews. So it pays to know how to do it right. My name is Chris Wiedelton. I'm the Senior Program Officer for Educational Programs at the Stand Together Foundation. I've actually overachieved. I've worked 42 different jobs in my life. That includes all my part-time jobs that I used to get through school. And I've talked to different student groups over my career and shared from my experiences that some of the most important things about having different jobs is that I want you to realize that if you explore all your interests and create options for yourself, then you get to really find what you like to do. So what you think you want to do for a living may not be what you end up doing, but going through the process of getting different jobs along the way helps you towards that end goal. So I did a lot of manual jobs growing up. I got a degree in education to be a teacher. I worked in Nabisco, Kraft, and Pepsi in consumer products. And then I switched over back to education where I got my degree in. And I've worked in a number of roles to help build education programs that help kids. And now in this role as Senior Program Officer for education programs at a foundation, what I get to do is I give away money for really cool programs that can help kids just like you. So in order to get this job and all the others, I had to do all the steps I'm about to walk you through. In addition to all the interviews I've been through, I've interviewed hundreds of candidates just like you over my career. So having a job requires getting a job. And that's important to prepare well, anticipating answers to questions on applications and interviews. So your goal when you apply for a job is to present yourself as someone who has the potential to do the job well. That means you need to be able to explain how your work and your life experiences, you individually, are relevant to this job. So we're going to do a couple different exercises. I'm going to encourage you to stop the recording and take some time to do some of these things, and then I'll be talking to you throughout. So get out your brag sheet. I'm going to share that on my screen. Let's see if I can find that. Where did I put the brag sheet? Oh my. So be prepared is a good example of what you want to make sure that you do. I will pull that up while you guys are pulling it out. So your brag sheet, this is a list of your life's accomplishments. It's the best to list some of the things about yourself that you're proud of that you might make your parents, teachers, job supervisors, and coaches proud. So let's walk through that brag sheet together. So it could include, and you've got spaces there for you to fill out, academic classes and achievements, GPA, your extracurricular activities, community service, work experience, honors and awards, notable personal experiences, personal traits, and future goals. So some of the details with each of those, you want to capture everything. Remember, you're bragging about yourself. And if I'm sitting across from you interviewing, I don't know those things about you. So when I look at work experience, for example, what I'm looking for here as an interviewer is something that connects to the type of work that I need you for. So you want to list all work experience and then be ready to talk about how it connects to what you're working for. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes on ways that you can do that. But think about if you did something that's manual labor and you're going to work in a grocery store, You want to talk about the fact that I know what hard work is about. You connect it to something that's happened in your life. You want to also emphasize positive personal attributes, strengths, and future goals. What are you doing this for? Particularly when you're in high school, if you're going for a job, they know this is not what you're trying to do for a career. It's okay to talk about that, but you don't want to talk about it in a negative way. You don't want to be looking at that job going, well, I'm just doing this just to make some money. I want to get some good work experience, and I've heard really good things about working for you. Those are the kinds of things that you can say. So now please take some time to complete your brag sheets. Take as long as you need. All you need to do is stop the recording or what's online in front of you and restart when you're done. For the purposes of this session, try and keep it for about 10 minutes to get started. You can always come back to this. So take your brag sheet, start to fill out some key things, and this ends up being something that, you know, translates, or you've heard the term resume. It turns into being something that you can use for a resume. So stop the recording, take some time, fill out your brag sheet now, and then turn it back on, and I'll pause here for a minute, and then I'll pick back up so that we can keep going. Welcome back. So did you find some parts harder to fill out than others? Ask yourself now, which areas were easiest to fill and which were most difficult? It probably ties to the things that you're most excited by were easier, and the things that might be hard. Maybe you haven't had a lot of work experience so far. Think about the things that you've done, even for your parents. Have you babysat? Have you done things that were, you know, just going and helping a friend or helping a neighbor, or your mom or your dad or an uncle asking you to do some things? All of those are different experiences, and challenge yourself. Maybe take this to an adult in your life and having them help you to fill that out so you can really get that more full. So I encourage you to continue to update your brag sheet and gain additional experience as you gain additional experience and skills. My resume now is several pages. When I first filled it out, or last year when I had my daughter filling hers out for her first job out of college, it wasn't as long as she'd like it to be, but it will grow. And the more that you add on there, it's good to keep that saved and then allow that to grow. So the next activity is to move from a profile to an interview. So job applicants often meet with interviewers who only know a few facts about them. So if you're applying for your first job, the employer may have seen your profile online or may not know anything about you. So believe me, they actually do go look at your social media presence now. So be clear that they may have done a little bit of research on you beforehand, and you want to make sure you're showing the best example of yourself. So then talking about yourself in an interview, whether face-to-face or over the phone, helps employers understand whether you, the applicant, are the right person for the job. Interviewers want to hear you describe your experience. They want to understand what you've done that relates to your skills and qualities that they need in their business. So if you're going to work for a restaurant, you want to be able to present that here's something that I've done to interact with people, and I like people, and I understand that sometimes I need to be positive when maybe they're not being. That's something you want to be able to bring out. They want to understand how that connects. So take a minute and think about your life experiences and how they have prepared you for the workplace. Find those things. You can tie it back to your brag sheet or in this exercise that we're about to do. So for example, when you think about you, let's say you've been playing on your school's baseball team since middle school. How might that prepare you for a job in a sporting goods store selling to parents and kids getting outfitted in their own baseball teams? Some of your answers might be knowledge of school requirements, knowledge of sports equipment, ability to share your experiences about what worked or didn't work for you, and to be able to motivate them into an additional purpose or purchase. So those are the things, like in that job, for you to be able to show that interviewer that you would actually be good for his or her business. So also say you're interviewing for the job at the sporting goods store and the interviewer asks, why should I hire you over another applicant? How would you answer? By taking the time to understand who you are and connecting it, sometimes your personal experience with that sport, as an example in the baseball example, might actually qualify you to answer questions about clothes or shoes or gear with confidence and authority. You're pointing out something that's valuable to you, to the employer. So it's important to adapt your personal information to the job interview, to the job you're going for. So you have to decide, why are you the right person? That may literally be a question that they ask you. So I want you to get out your "Why are you the right person" handout. And I'll pull that up and share it on the screen. Let me move over to Zoom, pull that up, share my screen. And there we go. So why are you the right person? Reviewing your brag sheet, you want to decide how you can share your skills and accomplishments and experiences in response to common interview questions. So the secret about an interview is that there's really no secrets. As many interviews as I've been through over the years, there always is some variation of some of the key questions. I might start an interview with, "Tell me something about yourself that's not on your brag sheet or your resume." And that's right here on the top. One of the interview questions, "Tell me about yourself." How to answer is have a brief story ready to tell the interviewer that understands why you're the right person for the job. So if you're going for a job go back to the restaurant, in the service industry, you're not going to say, "Well, I'm looking for a job because everything that I've ever done has been avoiding people. I don't really like people." You're not going to bring that out. You want a story that gives them something to go, "Huh, you like people, so that would be good for me to hire you as a server." What is your greatest strength? That is always going to be something that's going to be on there. But they also may, with the next question, what's your greatest weakness? And you want to be prepared to be able to answer those things honestly. And again, the secret is you already have the time. This space out here to the right is for you to write down some of those answers. And I still today, if I were to go through an interview, I'm going to still answer some of those questions in the same way. Maybe it's changed a little bit over time, but I'm going to answer it very similarly to how I might have answered it 20 years ago, because I know what my greatest strengths are, but I also know the things that I'm weakest at. But you also want to be able to bring, one of the key questions that it says right after that, how have you worked to overcome it? So I might answer with, well, one of my weakest areas is I allow myself to get too busy with too many things. And what I've learned about myself over time is that I need to take a step back and organize things and get control of my schedule so that I don't get overwhelmed. That just may be one of the ways that I answer. You need to answer it for yourself in a way that makes sense to you. I have 25 plus years of work experience. You don't have that. So in helping you to find why you're the right person, you're going to make sure that you take the time to answer these questions honestly and then practice them. The more that you say these things, like write down what you're saying and then take your time to read through it. And even if you feel comfortable, read it to a trusted adult in your family, a friend, a brother, sister, just so that you can feel it coming off your tongue, because in an interview setting, just be honest, we'll say it, you're going to be nervous. Guess what? Everybody's nervous. So the more that you go into that setting and recognize, and you've got some of these stories practiced, then those things will become more comfortable for you to answer, even if you're feeling awkward or nervous or your hand's shaking. Those are all normal things when you're going through an interview. So some of the other key questions here on the, how do you know you're the right person? How are you at working with others? Giving an example, maybe you talk about your brother or your sister, or if you don't have a lot of work experience, or if you've had a job, bring that out. Once you're given directions, can you work independently? Things can change quickly. How are you at adapting to change? That's a great one. Describe a time when you've successfully adapted to change. You were in something where everything was changing and it was swirling, and you show them your thought process on how you worked through it. And that's what they're trying to find by that question. Who is someone you admire? That's a good question for them to, again, find out how your brain works. You want to be able to take the time here and say, it's my mom, because she always shows me her work ethic and how hard she works, and she makes sacrifices, and I see how much she loves me even when she's busy with lots of other things. That's a great answer. That's telling them how your mind works. It could be a celebrity. It could be somebody famous in history. But think through how you're going to answer that. And the one thing I would recommend is stay away from anything controversial. You really want that to just be about positive qualities that you see in somebody. Another good question: what's the hardest thing you've ever had to do? What do you consider your greatest accomplishment? And then one that I've actually seen even people that are grown adults or that have had a long work history have trouble with this. Why do you want to work here? You can be honest to say, I've been here before and I see that people really seem to really enjoy it. Or I definitely want experience in this business and I'm excited by the chance to make money and start earning money for a car or for college or for something that you're aspiring to. You want to use that to describe skills about yourself. I'm excited to work here because you need somebody who can work with people and is organized, and those are things that I have found about myself, and here's an example how. So one quick side that's not in the curriculum here is that I usually try to help people organize answering questions here by take the time, create these stories, and then you've got them practiced in your mind, and then when they ask you a question, follow the STAR method. So write this down, and it simply is when someone says, tell me a story about when you worked with others to handle a problem. STAR is name a scenario, name a task, the action you took, and the result. And that literally, you could walk through any story that way of, so the situation was this, the task that I had to complete was this, the action that I took was this, and the result was this. And you just walk through that. You can take everything on this, why are you the right person, and then just think through them that way, and you will nail any interview because you've taken the time to prepare and think through those stories. And then when you're sitting there nervous and maybe something's distracted you, all you're doing is going back and pulling out something that you've already had. I actually would even recommend that you take a notepad with you to an interview. And if you've got a notebook in front of you, you could literally have some of this stuff written out in front of you, and they're not going to be offended by that. They're not going to be bothered by that. They may not even be able to read what you've got written down there. And if you take a notepad and you're taking it to take notes when they're talking, even if you're just jotting down scribble, they won't know that. You're showing them that you're interested in what they have to say, and you've got your cheat sheet right there in front of you. It is not a bad thing to have that. I never question anybody who brings a notepad to an interview with me, whether they're young or whether they're somebody who's more experienced. I actually take that as, wow, this person's paying attention, they're taking notes. They took the time to think things through before they ever came to the interview. Those are all important things that will make it more comfortable for you, and it will be valuable. And then the last thing that I will challenge you on this section as you think through going through an interview is, tell me what you learned from that. So I tell people, do the STAR, that walks you through and keeps you organized. But the most important, I will almost ask the question to say, why do you want to work here? And tell me, and give me an example of a job like this one, and tell me what you learned from that. And they forget to tell me what they learned from that. If you write that down big across the bottom of your paper, and then after every answer, say, well, what's the hardest thing you've ever had to do? Oh, well, it was this. The scenario was this. The task was this. The action I took was this. And the result was this. And what I learned from that was, if you do the what I learned from that was, you will be in the top 95% of anybody taking an interview. I guarantee it, because I've got real experience of seeing it. And the number of people that I've even said, tell me what you learned from that, they forget that part. And I end up writing a note of, didn't tell me what they learned from it. So it's a great thing for you to be able to add at this early point in your career. So I'm going to stop sharing that on my screen. I want you to go to that worksheet. I want you to take some time to complete that, because all of these things, the things that determine if you're the right person, again, the practice is that you have filled this out ahead of time, made it part of your memory, maybe written it down on your notes that you're even going to take to the interview, and then you're ready for pretty much anything that they're going to ask you. They might ask it in a different way, but they're going to ask many of these key questions. So I want you to turn the recording off again, take some time to complete this, write what will be best for you to say, and then again, remember I said, go practice it out loud. Practice it with a trusted adult in your life. Practice it with just a friend who will listen to you. The more you practice it, the more natural it will feel. So turn the recording off. I'll pause for a minute, and then when you're ready, turn it back on, and then we'll pick it back up with the rest of the lesson. So welcome back. I'm glad you took the time to create those questions and to fill that out. Take some time again as you do it when you start practicing. And if you practice that STAR method, you'll start to really feel how that comes off. And if you answer all of those questions, if you really practice and you really want that job, you'll go through all of those, and all of a sudden you'll recognize that your answers are so much better and so much, you know, I still do it. I talk a lot for my job. Where there's sometimes I ramble, and this STAR method and going through this and practicing this, you'll get really good at giving good answers without a lot of fluff, without talking too much, and not without talking too little, because you're practiced. So now let's talk about the interview itself. A job interview can be really challenging, but with the preparation and positive attitude, odds of landing the job increase exponentially. So let's take a look at the handout called Interview Etiquette. I'm going to pull that up on the screen now. So take a look at your screen, and you should have that sitting right in front of you. So interviewing etiquette. A couple key things about this, and this is no matter what kind of job you're going for, even if you're going for a job where it's working outside and you're going to get dirty, you're still trying to make a positive impression on the interviewer. And I have had people come in, and I'm literally shocked when they come in, and I'm thinking, did you know you were interviewing today? I'm not saying you have to wear a suit and tie every single time or anything like that. There will be jobs in your life that you will want to wear a suit and tie. For the kind of work that I do now, I will be wearing a suit and tie to an interview. If I was going to work at a lumber yard, I probably don't need to wear a suit and tie for the job, but I need to wear nice clothes. Dress nice, but not formal clothes. Collared shirts, I think, are important. You see, I've got one on now, not a t-shirt. Tuck your shirt in, dark pants or khaki pants or skirt, but no jeans, no tank tops, no shorts, and be tasteful in what you're doing, not short dresses or skirts, no flip-flops. Make sure your clothes are clean without rips and tears. And if there's somebody you need to go to get support for that, there's all kinds of people in your community, people in your family that will help you with that. You really want to present a fresh face. They want to see that this person paid attention to what they were preparing to come sit in front of me today. That's a sign of respect. They're going to give you that same respect. So that's a good piece of advice for your appearance as you go in. Now, your body language. You also want to go in, practice. This is a simple thing, but I can tell you this is something that I still see in people with lots of years of experience is go in, act and speak appropriately and clearly. Show up on time. Make eye contact. Respect the interviewer. Thank them for taking the time. Show interest and excitement for being there. You don't have to be fake. If you're somebody who's a little more shy, then just be who you are, but you really want to go in, give them that firm handshake, make eye contact, let them know that you're interested in doing that job. You want to listen carefully to the interviewer. Don't be ready with all of those great questions that we just prepared and feel like, okay, I'm going to run through all of this. You want to listen to what they're asking, and then you can respond. If you feel like you can answer it without looking at your notes or without one of your practice stories, because they might ask you a question that isn't one that you've practiced, if you listen, and actually a trick that I use is many times I'll even repeat the question. So if somebody says, name me a time when you worked with a team and you were successful, I might say, a time that I worked with a team and I was successful. Yeah, I can think of a story, and then I go with my star and I start telling them the story. They're never, again, and I can say that as an interviewer, I'm never going to sit there going, why are they repeating my questions? I'm actually seeing someone who is showing thought and that they're actually listening to what I'm saying. And if you repeat it back, even, and you repeat it back slightly different, and they say, well, no, actually what I meant was, then you've even had a clarification so that you've bought some time to think about it and you can answer their question the right way. Respond appropriately. You see the note here, take time to gather your thoughts if needed. If you pause or you need a minute, I've actually interviewed people where, again, I know that you're sometimes nervous. So somebody will go, I'm drawing a blank right now, but let me think. And then there's some kind of a pause and they're thinking, oh, this is awful. And I want to make them comfortable. I'll say, take your time. Somebody else might not do that. Maybe they want to see whether you're going to be able to work through that. But don't freak out. Go back to your notes, maybe take a breath, take a nice deep inhale, and then look back at your notes and say, yes, I can think of an example when that happened. And then you start into your story. Be honest. Remember to smile. Just be comfortable. You want to demonstrate to this person, they want to look at you as somebody that I want to welcome into my business and I'd like to be able to be around. So feel comfortable demonstrating who you are. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That's some of the etiquette tips, which I think is important for you to read through and probably hold that one and save it for when you're actually going to the interview. So hold that to where you're preparing maybe the day before, get a good night's sleep, make sure you eat a good breakfast. All of those things that you've heard many times, those are important because it makes you your freshest. It makes you ready for it. And then if you pull this out and say, all right, I'm going to remember, okay, I'm looking at what I'm wearing today, asking somebody in your life, does this look like it's good interview clothes? Does this look presentable? Do I look like I'm going to an interview? They'll give you honest feedback, and there's probably somebody in your life that will help you. So to summarize all that we've talked about here, and it isn't been a lot of information, but it's things that you can practice and come back to. I would summarize a good interview as this: your personal, academic, and work experience come together to make you the person that you are. Interviewing can be stressful sometimes, but no matter what job you apply for, you surely have something in your background that makes you a strong candidate. Before you sit down for the interview, think about your strengths, skills, and what you love doing, and compare them to the job so you can tell the interviewer why you're the right person. Practice everything that we just talked about. Make your brag sheet. Go to a trusted adult in your life, even at your church or your school or somebody in your family, and say, what's your resume look like? I have shared my resume hundreds of times over the years to just say, well, here's mine, copy it with pride. You need to make it yourself, but the format makes it so much easier to just go, oh, well, this is where you put your work experience, and this is where you put this, and this is where you put that. If you want to do a resume as you get more work experience, your brag sheet is something that now it prepares you to be able to answer those questions and talk to them about who you are. And then by answering the questions of practicing those practice questions of why you're the right person for the job, that gets you ready to where you've got in your head or on your notes in front of you those stories that you're ready to bring out when they ask you questions in the interview. I welcome you to connect with me at any point. I'd be happy to help. My email or actually the best way to connect with me, my name is Chris Weedleton. Go look me up on LinkedIn. That's a way that you can actually send me a message. I would be so excited if I got a message from you and there was a way that I can help you. And that's a great place for you to see how people position themselves and talk about what their skills are and brag about themselves. And it's something that will be something as you grow, as you get older, that you may start to use. I get excited when I see students on there now because they're starting to see what it's going to look like for them. So you can message me there and tell me that you took the Junior Achievement program for job interviewing or for interviewing for a job, and tell me your experience. I would love to help in any way. So I really, from there, wish you good luck in all that you do. The goals that you set for yourself and the things that you learn through junior achievement, those are skills that you can take with you for the rest of your life. And I'm so excited that you're taking this program. I encourage you to take all of the other pieces in their curriculum and look for those opportunities where you can grow professionally, where you can explore, like I said, where you can create options for yourself. Very much enjoyed this. Good luck in all you do.